Hey, welcome to the 99, a ministry of Crossroads Grace Community Church in Manteca, California. I'm your host, Heather Mahoney, and at the 99, our goal is to reach our ones far from God by equipping the 99 to follow Jesus more fully. Each week, we take time to lean into the weekend message at Crossroads by expanding further into the topic or concept in greater depth. We hope it challenges you and creates a hunger to dive into scriptures so you can know Jesus better. If you want to best engage with us, make sure to catch this weekend's message at crossroadsgrace.org/series or by downloading the Crossroads app. Preston, welcome back. It's been a minute.
It has, yeah. It's been a couple weeks now. Thanks for letting me come hang out for a bit.
I'm so glad to have you back. I loved your message on the Sabbath. It was challenging in the best way, and I'm now looking forward to you are going to be preaching the online post-Christmas message, so that's exciting.
Yeah, super excited for that to come out. Team worked really hard on it. It's going to be a good one.
Now, if I remember correctly, you actually get to do something really fun after Christmas. Are you going somewhere with your family?
We are. It's a secret location, so no one can find us. No, we're going to Ventura with my wife's family. It's going to be so much fun. Going to go stay out by the beach and have a little beach Christmas. Her grandma's coming out and her whole family. So excited. It is one of our favorite things we get to do with them.
Do you do this on a yearly rhythm, or you just try to do it often when you can because it's so good?
Yeah, we did it a couple summers ago, and we loved it so much that we're doing it back. We every other Christmas, sometimes we go to Arizona, and then the other year we stay here. We try and go every other. So this year was a stay here year, and her family said, "Oh, great idea. We'll just come to you," which is great. So now we have family here, and we got to stay here and get to go spend Christmas on a beach, which is really the California dream, if we're being honest.
It is. You're going to the beach. I'm going to the mountains. I think we're both just pumped that our job gives us the week off after Christmas, which is just so lovely to recoup Christmas, all those Christmas Eve services, and then the candlelight services. So good.
I'm so excited for candlelight service. It is our favorite service, I think, of the year. It's going to be so fun.
Absolutely.
We have family in town, not her parents, actually my dad and my sister are coming out, and we're so glad they get to be here. Yeah,
and
really
fun
good.
fact, if you're listening to this, we're having worship in the round, which previously we have only done that for, I believe, our Good Thursday services. So that's really exciting. Something new, something fun.
Yep, you do not want to miss it. And it's good for all your kids. Like, we'll bring our little kids. We'll sit in the back because they'll be rambunctious and jumping on chairs, and it'll be really fun. There's like a whole group of us that all sit together with their kids, run around. It'll be fun.
I have a picture in my phone. I want to say Cooper, who's now 15, was maybe 7 or 8, and he's just sleeping in Christmas pajamas and maybe those giant animal style slippers, that really shouldn't be worn outside. And he was just asleep through the whole thing. And we definitely had we used to have the really later one, so it was the 11 p.m. to end at midnight. We rang in Christmas together, and his poor little body was not having it.
Yeah, thankful for my kids that it is not that late. Yeah, yes. They would not hang. I don't know if my kids would sleep here. Maybe my son Ozzy. Ada would not. She would just yell at us. She would not fall asleep.
Yeah, why are you doing this to me on Christmas Eve? That would be her actual question.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, well, we're going to jump into kind of a cool time of getting to know you a little bit better. You are one of the communicators, aside from Brian, that I think we get to actually see most on our weekend services. And in case people don't know, you run all of high school and all of young adults. So could you take a minute maybe to share just what's going on in those ministries, what people might not see, because those ministries don't meet during the weekend services. They meet on different evenings.
Yeah, so high school, we have so many high schoolers here that are a part of Crossroads on Sunday morning and Thursday nights, which is so cool. And as an additional offer to them, we have high school service on Sunday nights. We start at 7. Kids start showing up at like 6:30-ish. Mm-hmm. It's from 7 to 8:30, around that range. And our high school ministry is in such a good spot right now. We're having so much fun together. We like the gist of it is you show up, we hang out, it's a space where you just get to spend time with other students, with the leaders, and then we have worship and we have a message and we have small groups, and it's all built around just being with other believers, being with other Christians who are interested not just in hanging out with each other, but developing each other, bringing each other up, learning. I think we do a really good job of challenging our students, to do what they are saying they believe in, or if they don't believe yet, start to question, start to wonder. So our high school is super fun. Oh, and then we have a bunch of fun too. Like the first Sunday of every month is always some big event or some easy invite, something where you can just easily ask your friend or the person sitting next to you in class, like, hey,
You're
this
one.
Monday. Yeah, you're one. Exactly. You can just say, hey, this Sunday we've got, I don't know what it is, whether it's as simple as like free coffee or as wild as like cage match dodgeball.
And last week, didn't you do something cool? Didn't you have like almost 100 students show up to sing hymns outside around fire pits?
We did. We did
So cool.
our annual hymn night, which was out in front of the building, and we had fire pits, and we sang. They're more modern hymns. They're not like, if you're listening, they're not like Come Thou Fount. Like, it's not
Hey.
those type hymns.
I grew up on those, and they're my favorite. So watch yourself, Preston.
I love them. They hold a special place in my heart from my little Missouri church that I was a part of. But so we sang some songs. I mean, we had like printed hymn books that the Sarah Turk poured her heart and soul into making these books.
I did see them. They were beautiful.
They look so good. And our students, I've said it before, our students are so into worship, which is so beautiful to hear.
I love it.
I mean, their voices just carried through the parking lot. It was so much fun. And if you missed that, it's okay. We'll have one next year. And we have worship nights in January and all
About
sorts of stuff.
355 days away from the next one.
Yeah, mark your calendars for some weekend in December. It'll be. But yeah, high school is in a really fun spot right now.
And then young adults, you guys meet on Monday nights on campus, right?
Yeah, Monday nights in the upstairs room, right when you walk up the stairs to the left. It's known as the preteen room.
Big garage door.
Big garage door, big old basketball hoop in the corner. That's where young adults meets. And young adults is a really casual, laid back, show up, eat some food. We've always got some sort of food. And then after hanging out for a while, we just sit down and we read the Bible. And that is the extent of the structure. We decide on what we're reading. Right now we're reading 1 Peter. And
Ooh, nice.
we just read through it. And then we stop at breaks that make sense in the text. And we say, okay, what do we think? What doesn't make sense? What challenged you? What don't you agree with? All sorts of stuff. And it just opens a door for any conversation, any questions you might have. Sometimes we get way off base of what the text says, but it's all based on the questions everyone asks. So young adults is a really good spot. If you are between 18 and 25, and if you're new in your faith, if you're exploring your faith, or if you've been a believer since you were a wee little lad, like, it is for you to come and just engage with the Bible with people who are in your same age, in your same demographic and age group, and then we just get to hang out and have a good time. So yeah, I would definitely encourage any young adults. It's a really good group. Come hang out with us on Monday nights, and we meet pretty much every Monday night. So if we don't, we'll post about it, but pretty much rain or shine, holiday or not, we're meeting on Mondays.
And there's always food. And
There is always food.
that is very smart of you, because if I was 21, I'd be like, there's food, let's go. And then there's
always food.
the community and the Bible and all of that. But
And coffee. There's always coffee. Trevor Turk has been bringing his fancy coffee with our AeroPresses.
wow, I don't even know what that means, because I am the odd duck that does not actually drink coffee.
That is
What's
true.
an AeroPress?
AeroPress, honestly, I know what it is. I don't know like how it works though. You just pour the coffee grounds in, then you pour hot water in, and
But
then
it's
it sits
different than a
there.
French press,
I believe so.
Okay.
I think so, because you don't like squeeze the coffee grounds out.
because the coffee's made in space.
That's
I'm
right.
just kidding.
Trevor Turk is our resident coffee expert.
Gotcha.
Though. So we'll bring him on one day, and we'll just ask him all coffee questions.
Yeah, and in his physical therapist life, was he not a coffee shop guy, or he worked at one, or he brewed?
Yeah.
What did he do?
He helped run some sort of roaster or coffee shop
Nice.
with his friend.
So he
Either
knows
way,
what's up.
He knows a lot. He was telling me about
Gotcha.
some $50 a cup coffee he had not too long ago.
No thanks.
Yeah, not my cup of tea. I'm more than Keurig, less than $50 cup
That's
of
outside
coffee.
of my tax bracket for that cup of coffee. Hey, sweet. So you shared a little bit about your ministries, but I would love to hear a little bit about God working in your life. So can you give us your testimony of how you came to a life-saving relationship with Jesus Christ? Take a couple of minutes and let us know.
Yeah, I grew up I was in church from the moment I was born. I think I was born and they just toted me off to church. So I was always raised with faith, and in the church, I went to a church called CCV out in Arizona, and that was my church until I left Arizona. So I was always there. And yeah, I think I had great parents. My parents were all over the place. I had siblings all over the place. But my primary parents that I lived with was my mom and my stepdad when I was really young, and they were super formative in my faith. I remember my stepdad at the time, he had this piggy bank that had 3 sections. One was for spending, one was for saving, and one was for tithe.
Okay.
And I made a whopping 25 cents a week for taking out the trash. That was my one chore. And I made 25 cents a week, and he would break down the 25 cents into 10% tithe, and then 45% saving and 45% spending. Does that math work? Yeah. It was something like that. Or maybe it was 20, 40, 40. And so like I would put like a couple pennies in the tithe and some savings. But like from the beginning, everything I did was super faith-based, which like I guess was a little annoying at first, but it has set a foundation that I didn't even realized. So like it's really rocked me. Yeah, like it's really messed with me. Not messed with me. It's really helped me. Like when I have little kids, being like, oh, even when they're 3 and 4, like the things I do with my daughter are going to impact her today. Like I remember those roots. I remember, them sitting on my bed every night and being like, all right, let's pray, pick things to pray about. And they would always make me pick 3 things to pray about. I would be so annoyed. Oh. But even today, like it still sticks with me. Like I need to not just say some default prayer to God. Like I need to like make a conversation and like actually have some things that matter.
That's for all of us too. Yeah. For me as well. Thank you.
Yeah. So that foundation really helped me. So that was the beginning years. I would say growing up, I was always in the church. I always volunteered.
Okay.
It doesn't mean I super took my faith seriously. And even going like through middle school and through high school, I went to church every week, usually twice a week, and that was the extent of my faith, was just showing up to church. I was a good kid, so I didn't get in trouble, so I didn't feel like this heavy weight of, oh my gosh, I'm so bad, I'm this sinner. I'm like, no, I'm a good kid, and I go to church. I'm good to go. Nothing else to it. And then probably freshman year, it was freshman year, the summer after freshman year, I believe. I was at a church camp, and they did the classic church camp move, which is after the whole week's done, they get up on stage and they say, hey, some of you are going to feel some undeniable call into ministry. Like you are going to feel God tugging on your heart to go into ministry. If that's you, stand up and then go walk outside and talk to this person.
Okay.
And it was the first time that there wasn't a voice. There was no booming voice of God. There was no dove that descended, but there was an undeniable confirmation inside my gut, inside my brain. It was like, that's all I can do. All I can do is ministry. That's all I want to do. That's all I'm wired to do. So I stood up, walked outside, did the whole thing, and I was locked from that point on. All I wanted to do is ministry. And you were how old? I was a freshman in high school.
Wow. Okay.
And that was it.
I love that.
The disappointing part is that nothing in my life changed after that. Like I didn't dive further in my faith. Like I didn't read my Bible regularly. I lived the same way, knowing that I was going to go into ministry, but nothing changed. Which, looking back, I was actually talking to some high schoolers who were considering going into ministry about this. I told them, I was like, by the grace of God, I ended up in ministry because I did not act like I saw this calling on my life. I did not live a life that would be like that. I should not have, in that state, been allowed to do, to continue to pursue, ministry. But thankfully, our God is super gracious and, so wonderful and forgiving that it just ended up with me going to Bible college. That's all I ever wanted to do. I applied to one school. It was a Bible college in Missouri. I didn't even look at any other ones. I applied. I got accepted. I went and got my degree in preaching. And in college was when I really said, oh my goodness, I have not been living like a true Christian life. Okay. I've been living a consumer life. I have been not doing anything. So yeah, once I got to college, I dove in, and it's been up and to the right ever since, of just diving into my faith and taking it way more seriously, obviously. But that's kind of how I got there. So
yeah, that's pretty interesting. I think everyone listening, I'm definitely speaking for myself, knowing sometimes if God has this calling, he's put it on your life, and then still not living in a way 100% living within what God has called of you, which is crazy because if God has called us to it, then there's a reason, and he's going to help us see it through. And then I'm just like, I'd rather receive right now than be giving, which is kind of nuts because the creator of the universe called us to something, and I was like, well, I'm 17. I got a better thing to do.
I think
we all do it.
We all do it. I think my most embarrassing faith story.
Oh no.
Is when I graduated college, or I was about to graduate college. I was working for this company, this finance company, making more money than I ever made, doing no work, but they paid me like I was working really hard.
No business making that amount of money.
No business making that amount. It was awesome. It was so cool. I was wrapping up college, and there was this situation. They said, "Hey, do you want to keep working here after college?" And I was like, "You mean keep not doing much and making a bunch of money? That sounds really good."
Okay.
But that went against my plan all along, was to finish my undergrad and then go on into do a residency and get my master's and all this stuff. And I was so torn on if I should keep this job making a bunch of money or if I should go in my master's. And so for a week I said, all right, I'm going to pray and fast. I'm not going to consume any media other than Christian media, or not even media, but theological learning media. So I would only watch sermons. I would only listen to theology podcasts, all that stuff. I was I don't think I was fasting from food. I think it was mostly media and things that kept my time just unintentional. And so for a week I did that. I fasted from all that stuff. And I prayed and I prayed and prayed. I said, God, do you want me to go pursue my master's, or do you want me to go and just make this money? And I just got married at the time, so I could justify going and making money and providing for my wife and setting us up. It wasn't entirely selfish. And I remember one day when I was praying about it, the same sort of overwhelming, undeniable, do the program, go into finish your school,
and prepare yourself for ministry.
Yeah, prepare yourself for ministry. I felt so undeniably confident in that. I was like, oh, sweet, I got my answer. And I got my answer. I immediately called my friend and said, let's play video games because I can do this now because I got my answer. That was the first thing I did. And then I woke up the next morning and I called my boss for the company and I said, hey, I'm going to keep the job. Let's go ahead. I'm going to skip my master's program. I know. You can't see her. Heather just made a jaw drop face.
I did an face.
I don't know what was wrong with me, but I felt an undeniable direction.
It was your humanness.
Yeah, it was my, Paul
Guilty
says, I hate my flesh. It doesn't desire what I went directly against it, and I don't know what did that. I skipped my program. I went and worked this job, and then probably 8 months later, the company dissolved. They fired the entire branch, and then I went to my master's program. So,
wow.
Yeah,
this is very Brian Hunt of you. I don't know if you remember, and I know he shared preaching before, but he knew he was called to ministry, and instead he kept his job in the health and fitness field.
Yeah.
And he was dry heaving and throwing up before going into work in the parking lot because he knew God had called him to something else.
Yeah. It was a ridiculous decision by me. My dad and my uncle also worked for the company. And so when it dissolved, they also both lost their jobs. And years later, I told them that story, and they very much jokingly forever blamed me for the company dissolving.
Well, yeah.
God's divine intervention. Yeah, it was wild.
It's a little like God told you what your business was to handle. You said, I've got another plan. And he said, I'll help make the decision for you.
It pretty much was
So then
that
you went
way.
into the residency after?
Yep. So I did the residency. I did my master's, did all
and
that.
then that's actually how you ended up at Crossroads.
Yeah.
So we were looking for someone to pastor our kids ministry at the time. And if I remember correctly, you had started your residency not in kids. Was it for groups? What was it for?
Yeah, it was adult ministry. I only ever wanted to do adult ministry. It's the only thing I ever saw. And at that point, the extent of ministry, in my mind, was you're either the lead pastor or you're a youth pastor, you're a kids pastor, youth pastor. That's it.
Gotcha.
And I was like, oh, I'd rather work with adults. It's always been my comfort zone. I never wanted to do kids ministry or anything. It was always adults all the time. And then halfway through my residency, I was doing this, the group stuff. And on Sunday mornings, it was really boring to be a groups pastor at the church I was at because they didn't really do anything. They sat around, waited to have coffee with people.
Yeah, it's a lobby presence versus ministry. It's just the personal connection happening on the Sunday morning, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
And so in between service was really fun. And then service happened and everyone was in service and you're just kind of twiddling your thumbs.
Yes.
And so I noticed the kids ministry needed volunteers, and they were just bugging me all the time. Like, you're not doing anything. Come in here. And so I was like, fine, I'll do it. And I went and I started volunteering with the kids ministry in there. And I had the most fun I'd ever had in my life. Like, it was so much fun just to be in there, be with a bunch of kids, just being ridiculous and leading dance worship and teaching messages to third graders and like bring it down to their level. I had so much fun. And in that moment,
you guys heard it here. Preston does know how to lead dance worship. So if you need it for any reason, you can reach him at Crossroads website.
that was a past life. Okay.
Okay.
The problem is I still like, I'll hear the songs like on like our Spotify playlist in our house. And I know every move.
Still?
Yeah, they're there. It's like a auto reaction. I know them all.
So who did you talk to about this? Did you have an influential person in your life, or you were already married at this point, right? So it's probably you and Cass and you talking through, wait a minute, maybe my direction has changed?
Yeah, it was definitely Cass was the main person I talked to. And Cass, my wife, she's endlessly supportive. I mean, I could tell her this is what I'm thinking, and she's just like, cool, how do we get it done? Like, she's incredibly supportive and amazing. So yeah, she was all on board. I talked to some of the people in the residency, and actually the kids pastor at my campus was really big on just saying like, I'm telling you, you should do this. Like, you are very good at this. You enjoy this. I can see the difference. Not going to tell you what to do, but you should do this. Her name was Jessica, and she's wonderful. She was so good at what she did. And yeah, she just was so directly, you should do this with your life. And she just kept giving me way more responsibility than I was ready for or than I like was supposed to handle. And she just kept giving and giving and giving. And yeah, she helped me develop a ton. So Jessica was wonderful. And all the
Shout
people
out
at the
to Jessica.
staff. Yeah, Jessica's great. That whole staff was really good too, about just letting me do whatever it is they thought that I could do, even if I didn't think I was ready for it. So,
and then what about outside of kids ministry? Who has been maybe kind of a significant influence in your life, a mentor, someone you've trusted?
My foundation really did, my faith foundation, like I said, my stepdad at the time was very influential in like when I think of like the core of who I am. So that he was a really big presence in my life. I think as I got older, I had a really good small group leader that I loved a lot. I had two. I had Larry and Tim, and they were really good. But then the biggest ones came in college, honestly. The preaching professor that I had, his name was Jason Posnick. He's now at Ozark, but he poured into me so much and really like challenged me on a lot of like what I thought church was or what I thought preaching was. He was not afraid to tell me like, hey, I think you're wrong. Why don't you go figure that out? Or he wasn't afraid to not give me an answer and like make me go figure it out myself and then come back to him. And so I really credit Jason Posnick with a ton of who I am, at least like when it comes to the thinking side of ministry and preaching and everything like that. He was very influential come college. And then I really do lean on my friends quite a bit that are also in ministry. They're some of the best sounding board that I have.
Oh, totally.
So I've got a couple friends in ministry. They're all over the country, but they've been really, really good for me and my development. And yeah, I can call them and they don't know anyone here or any of the situation here. And I call them and explain the situation and they can tell me like, hey, I think you were wrong here. Or I think, well, have you thought about this angle? So I've got a really good group of like 3 core friends that I can bounce all this stuff off of.
You're a pretty strong leader, so it's nice that you have people in your life that will tell you when you're wrong or not making a good decision. Because I've found if you have a lot of leadership, sometimes people just say, oh, they got it all together. And then they don't challenge you on that. So to have mentors, to have friendships in your life that can call you on stuff, it's just so important.
Yeah, we always talk with students. Like, you absolutely need to have a mentor above you. You need to have someone who can call you on that. You need to have people next to you who are in the same stage of life, same walking with you. So you need to have, it's not mentor. It's that friendship, but iron sharpening iron. And then you need to be mentoring someone. Like, once you're ready, you will learn so much by teaching someone else, by helping guide them and raise them and help them with problems that you might not have thought of in a while. Like, you will see so much growth even in yourself and especially in the person that you're working with. So I've been very blessed to have all 3 of those layers. And even coming here, one of the biggest things we were looking for when we were trying to find a church was, are there leaders here at the church that we want to be like and that I want to be like.
Yeah, of course.
That was our goal. And so regardless of you sitting across from me, it was Heather, it was Ed, and it was Brian that like we had the most interaction with. And as my wife and I were looking at you three, we were like, those are people we want to be like. Like that's who we want to be in ministry. So that's where we're going to land. So that was a huge part of picking where we're at, was making sure there was mentors above that that I wanted to like become as I continue in ministry. So y'all have been so good at training and teaching. It's been good.
Well, one, thank you for saying that. Two, then I think you continued to trust us, because if you guys are listening closely, Preston doesn't run kids here anymore at Crossroads. He actually had a stellar leader in kids ministry who was already on staff, who's now our kids director. Shout out to Teresa Salcido. T's not going to love that I'm saying her name out loud, but there it is, and she rocks. But at one point, we had our high school pastor stepping out of ministering to students and stepping into adult ministry. And I approached you, and you actually said yes to high school ministry, which was just so lovely for me because I could see it. But you had, maybe a summer interning in... What was it, Moberly? Where did you?
That was in Phoenix, actually.
Oh, in Phoenix.
I had a summer of high school. So yeah, you guys approached me. Our old high school pastor was moving on to a different area of ministry, and you guys said, "Hey, crazy idea. Do you want to do high school?" And I said,
"What?
No," because that's not what I wanted. Like, like I said, I'd never even considered kids ministry until I was just put in there, and I ended up loving it. But I really never considered high school. Like that was
not on your charts,
not on my radar. Cass and I, we've been together since since freshman year. We stopped going to our high school service because we were like, this just isn't for us. And we eventually went to like only the adult service. And looking back, we were just being super picky, I guess. But
it's hard when you know it all.
Well, we did.
Someone else teach you anything.
We knew so much more than them. Yeah. So yeah, we had no experience in high school, no schooling, no nothing. I had done one internship where I hosted the most ridiculous game of all time, which may or may not involve blenders and sea creatures and
that are no longer with us.
R.I.P. Henry. That's a story for another time. I think all the high schoolers have heard that story.
I'm sure.
So yeah, I didn't know what I was doing, and that's my gut reaction. I was like, no, actually, I really love kids ministry, and I like what I'm doing. Thank you, appreciate it, but I don't know if that's gonna work. And you guys pushed back on that, right? Like that was your
We
your
said,
whole thing.
what if you prayed about it?
Dang, that's right. And then you guys,
you went home and talked with your wife about this.
and Pastor Ed printed off a list of all of the high schoolers, right? Was that right before I took the job? He printed off a list of all the high schoolers and said, pray over these names.
Oh, yeah. That was right around when you were taking it and Hume was coming.
Yes.
And he's like, look at all these students who need to know Jesus or need to know him more.
Yeah. So went home, prayed about it, talked to my wife about it a lot. Actually, I left your guys' meeting. I called my friend immediately. I stood in the McDonald's lobby. I talked to my friend. I was like, listen to this.
Shout out to McDonald's.
And my friend Keegan said, I don't know, man. Sounds like you should probably do that. And I said, you know me though. Like I've never worked with high schoolers. He actually did the internship with me that summer. Funny enough, he moved to Arizona with me. We lived with my grandma. It was so much fun. I was like, you saw me with high schoolers. Like I just treated them like little adults. Like I didn't know what to do. And he said, no, it sounds like you should probably do that. And I went home and talked to Cass, and Cass's first reaction was, we moved here a year and a half ago to work with kids. What do you mean it's a different job now? That was her first reaction. And then after talking about it, she goes, yeah, I don't know. It sounds like probably something you should do. And we prayed about it, talked about it. And then the next morning we talked more about it. And ultimately what it came down to was, praying about it was a big deal. But there wasn't like a clear cut, like it wasn't the same type of feeling of like going into ministry or doing the right. Like,
yeah,
it wasn't
you didn't
like
make
that.
A pros and cons list, and it was just so overwhelming that you couldn't not say yes, kind of thing.
The biggest thing was, well, if Heather and Ed say I can do this, then I guess I can probably do this. It came down to just like trusting the people that I trusted, and it worked pretty well because it is like I I can't imagine my life in ministry without working with high schoolers. And the cool thing is, I thought I'd have to change a bunch. Like, I thought I'd have to like mold myself into like what I thought a youth pastor was supposed to be. I just kept on doing what I do, which is what you guys wanted me to do in the beginning. But I talked to my friend Keegan saying, like, I don't know how to treat them like high schoolers. I just know how to treat them like little adults. Like, that's all I do anyways. Like, that's our whole high school ministry is just built around, like, you guys are almost adults. Like, we're going to treat you like grown-ups. And if you prove to me otherwise, well, then we'll deal with it then. But, like, we're going to challenge you, and we're going to talk directly to you. And, you know, we're not going to treat you like a bunch of kids. And that's what we're built around. And it's been so fun. I genuinely cannot imagine what it would be like to not have this experience with these high schoolers. I tell them every week, goodbye, I love you, have a good time, see you next week. And like, it's true. Like, I love every one of them. I love the ministry. It's been so fun and so good. And they have helped me grow an incredible amount, the high schoolers. So, and I mean, even the young adult ministry too has been its own sidebar of figuring out what works and what, like, that's a different level of growth where it's mentoring, like, and working with peers who are just like a little bit young. Like, we're basically the same age. We're basically in the same spot. Or even just like I was there a couple years ago. The young adults has been such a fun area of like just these adults who are ready to hit the ground running and like pedal to the metal. And that's been really fun to work with them too. So the whole thing, I am legitimately so grateful that you and Ed said, no, you should probably do this. And it's worked out amazing. And yeah, I've had the highest highs in ministry. I've also had the lowest lows. But it's been amazing. Yeah, it's been really good.
When you have been just the biggest blessing to Crossroads. And I think you saying yes, let T shine also in kids ministry, where she was already had such great leadership. But Sean and I, we have a 15-year-old son, and he loves it, but high school is thriving, and I think it's growing. And it's not growing because you do the coolest tricks and that we have the best snacks, because they're always just Costco snacks.
It's just chips.
It's just chips. Sometimes it's like ways to use the leftover Fritos that no one will eat, so we make Frito, but you know,
That's
it's
right.
it's just like Arizona iced teas and water. But
And Dr. Pepper, that's a big one.
Thank you for your leadership. Seriously, I don't want to make it awkward for you, but it's just been really cool to see. So, and you want students to want to come to church and to look forward to it, and they do. And it's cool to get to see that in every level at Crossroads and not have a massive gap like, well, everyone really loves coming except this group. You know, it feels like there's a place for everybody to just feel included, connected, to grow, to belong.
Yeah, well, that's been the whole goal with high school, was saying like the frills will not be the priority. Like that has been my number one thing. Like I don't need a high schooler coming here because we play amazing games or because we make amazing food. I want them to come here because this is the place where they can learn to love God, love people, and love serving. Like, that is it. And if you come here, we are so unapologetic about saying, welcome to Crossroads. We're going to teach you about God, and we're going to teach you about following him and being a disciple of like the one we claim who's Lord. And that, don't get it twisted. We are so opening and welcoming to everyone of every, like, if it's your first time, if you hate church and everything, we've had so many kids like that. And I love getting to talk to them, being like, hey, I'm going to talk to you as if God is like true and real and we follow Jesus. You don't have to be there. And we say that all the time. Like, you do not have to be
You don't have
in
to
a
agree
space.
with it.
Yeah, you don't have to believe that Jesus is the Son of God. You don't have to believe that there is a God. You can come here, hang out with other students who love you, adult leaders who love you, and have a good time. And we have we genuinely have many students. I wouldn't say a lot, but we have a decent amount of students who we've had conversations where like they are not at the place where they believe, but they keep coming because we love them and we're going to spend time with them and we're going to tell them what we think is true.
And you're preaching the truth every single week.
Every week.
Some of those people, God gets a hold of their hearts, or sometimes it's just planting a seed. Sometimes you never know, but you also have stories of transformation and watching that happen. Yeah, which is always so sweet to hear.
Yep, it's been really good, and I don't want to brush over our kids director T is so good. She's awesome. So good at what she did. We were so blessed that like in a season of transition where like our high school person was moving and I was moving to high school. It was such a seamless fit. Like, she was so ready to jump into our kids' ministry.
And she even said the same thing you did of like, well, I don't know if I'll fit the role of what you want me to do. If you don't know T, it's probably because she really doesn't enjoy being on stage. But pay attention to the candlelight services because she is going to help me lead a game, which will be fun. She only said yes because she gets to be with the kids. I said I'll be with the adults. But she's awesome. And she said the same thing. I don't know if I'm a fit. And it's like, well, we're adapting this role for you. The job description is the same, but we want you in it. We're not trying to get you to become someone you're not, which I think is important because people always can tell inauthentic leadership or when you're trying to check a box. Or if I tried to be like Brian, I'm not sure how many middle schoolers would come on a Sunday or Thursday because they would say, that does not sound like you, Heather. And they'd be accurate.
They can read dishonesty and inauthenticity so quickly.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Well, hey, one, thank you for taking this time to share your testimony with us today. Two, I want to point out, while I know I was asking you leading questions, your testimony as a follower of Christ is something that you should know because it's your story of what God has done and how he has moved in your life. So if you've ever been intimidated, if you've ever felt uncomfortable talking about it and you're listening right now, I want to encourage you that you have the ability to share your story with other people and with your ones. And if you learned something from Preston today, you might accidentally kill a goldfish. You might run from what God's asked you to do. And our God is a faithful God and he has a calling on our life. And part of that calling involves us telling other people about who he is and telling them the life-saving truth of the gospel. So you can't run far enough that you escape God. He's always there.
And your testimony doesn't have to be this crazy, insane, off-the-wall testimony. Like, I remember growing up hearing all the stories of transformation of, like, I was, living in the sewers. I was, living this crazy life. And now God's got a hold of me. And I'm like, I loved hearing those stories. They were radical and they were transformative. And I remember sitting there being like, oh, my story's not that good. Like nothing cool has happened to me. And I was punched in the face with that like reality when I realized that there is an incredible amount of people out there who have had a life very similar to mine that like I can tell them, here's how God changed my life, even if it wasn't living in the sewers with the Ninja Turtles. Like they can still
turtle power.
They can still relate to my story. And that's like so important. You will always find someone who can relate to your story in one way or another of the simple, like, here's who I was before Jesus. Here's how Jesus changed me. Here's who I am after. No matter how huge that chasm is or however like simple you think it is, someone will relate, someone will love it. And like, it's important for us to know, like you got to know your testimony.
Yeah. So the challenge I think would be get comfortable with knowing those three things: my life before Jesus, how I came to know Jesus, and what it looks like now. Hey, those are great final words. Thank you for that, Preston. I just want to remind everyone we've got one final show of the year. It's another special episode. Brian will be joining me. We're going to be talking through all things 2024. I can't wait. As always, if you have any questions, need more information about today, make sure to check out the links below for today's show notes. Thank you so much, Preston.
Of course. And as always,
tag you're it. Thank you for joining us today for the 99 podcast. We hope to see you next weekend at Crossroads on campus or online for one of our 4 services. To view our service times, be sure to check out our website at crossroadsgrace.org.